Hi, folks. Before we begin, please be aware that we are recording this webinar. If you have any questions about the resources, we encourage you to follow up via email at support@electionsgroup.com. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rebecca. I am the Communications and Program Manager here at the Elections Group. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, the Elections Group is an election administration consulting firm. We partner with state and local election officials to implement new programs or improve processes for voters and stakeholders. We provide guidance, resources, and direct management support for jurisdictions, and our team is made up entirely of former election officials and election experts from across the United States. We're pleased to have you with us all today for the next highlight of resources for the election administration community. Each week, we have been showcasing resources from the Elections Group, paired with resources from other organizations in the election space. Every 4 weeks, we focus on a different topic, and we take a deeper dive into the resources available each week. This month, we are focusing on election workers and observers, and this week, we are highlighting the Election Group's Standards of Conduct for Election Workers Guide and posters, and the Humphrey School's video on how to get your poll workers to remember and retain what you tell them. We will go ahead and get right into the resources. So the first resource is a resource from TEG, or the Elections Group. These are our standards of conduct for election workers. This is a guide and also a poster. And just some background information on standards of conduct. They set expectations for participant and observer behavior in normal election operations. Standards set the tone of the operating environment and create boundaries that, if crossed, identify individuals displaying unexpected or unacceptable behaviors. When early intervention of threatening or disruptive behavior becomes an expected part of the operation, it ceases being a reactive distraction. The guide offers and outlines an oath of office versus standards of conduct, identifying behaviors that violate election law, examples of standard of conduct, role of training and core competencies, and also monitoring and reporting. Election officials are responsible for conducting an election that not only runs smoothly, but follows the law. Myriads of election workers are needed, including full and part-time staff, temporary and seasonal workers, and volunteers often representing their political parties. Highly skeptical individuals may volunteer to serve in one of these capacities, hoping to uncover fraud or being prepared for flawed practices. In all of this, voters are looking for assurances that the work done in an election by professionals, other workers, and volunteer partisans is free from malice or political bias. In the current socio-political climate, election officials face a growing reality that anyone with access to election infrastructure, this is ballots, equipment, buildings, people, etc., can intentionally or unintentionally cause harm. These insider threats could include elected officials, election staff, seasoned workers, governing board members, and other county or state officials, observers, members of the public, and even law enforcement members. Most of these official participants take an oath to defend the Constitution of their state and the Constitution of the United States. For some, a deep skepticism and even cynicism arising from the current information environment has changed what it means to uphold the Constitution or even uphold the law. To be clear, there are times when challenges to procedures, these are made by workers, poll challengers, or observers, are appropriate. However, some participants acting within official duties may feel they are upholding the Constitution by interfering with an election or challenging procedures. In this circumstance, a sworn oath may no longer be enough to ensure that laws and protocols are followed. Establishing standards of conduct may provide an additional layer of protection to the election process. Written standards of conduct should be developed and deployed ahead of each election and reviewed afterwards. Considering the duties of the election official in administering elections, there are likely implied duties for election workers that can underpin the legal and moral authority of such standards, particularly with the support of legal counsel. Standards can be successfully incorporated into the following. 1, new hire orientation for full and part-time staff, as well as temporary or seasonal support employees. 2, election worker training. 3, candidate, political party, and observer training and guides. And 4, or finally, public meetings and observation opportunities like logic and accuracy testing, auditing, canvas and certification, etc. This guide goes over the basics of the standards of conduct and provides examples of values-based standards. It reviews the role of training and core competencies, as well as monitoring and reporting. The guide comes complete with templates and examples, is available to download today, and the link for both the guide and the posters are provided in the chat. All right, moving right along to our partner resource. This resource is from the Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota. The Humphrey School ranks among the country's top 10 professional public policy and planning schools, widely recognized for its success in advancing the common good through a comprehensive, world-class program. The school offers 6 distinctive master's degrees, a doctoral degree, and 6 certificate programs, including election administration. Their mission is to inspire, educate, and support innovative leaders to advance the common good in a diverse world. The Humphrey School has an active YouTube channel with lots of informative videos about election administration. So if this one doesn't speak to you, check out their YouTube page. I'm sure there's something for everybody. The video we're talking about today is how to get your poll workers to remember and retain what you tell them. It's a training video that offers tips and tricks on how to improve your training so your poll workers listen, remember, and retain the information that you've just presented. Amy Wilson, the former training coordinator at the Colorado Secretary of State's office, discusses how to make your trainings interesting, interactive, and memorable using learning strategies that work. In addition, she discusses what adults need in the classroom in order to be successful at their jobs. Best of all, these strategies will not increase your training budget. All right, and we've placed links to all of these resources in the chat, so feel free to check them out. We are moving right along to our In the Wild resource. So this is the segment of the show that we do that highlights some examples in the wild of election offices across the country who are doing some really amazing work. This example is from North Carolina. North Carolina actually had multi-partisan assistance teams that help make the voices heard of those living in a hospital, clinic, or assisted living facility. Those who need to register to vote or who have requested an absentee ballot can receive assistance from the MAT team. And these workers are appointed by the County Board of Elections and include members from at least 2 different political parties, ensuring impartial and professional assistance. We've placed a link in the chat for this program as well for folks who want to learn more about what the great folks in North Carolina are up to. Thank you everyone for joining us today. The resources that are mentioned in today's discussion were placed in the chat. And as always, our inbox is open if you have any additional questions. Please email us at support@electionsgroup.com. Thank you so much, and we will see y'all next week.